The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal is a deeply disturbing issue. It involves the organized sexual abuse of young girls. This abuse has been happening for many years. The perpetrators are predominantly men of Pakistani descent. The victims are primarily white British girls. This scandal has shocked the United Kingdom. It has revealed uncomfortable truths about the failures of British society. This scandal is not just about individual crimes. It is about the systemic failures that allowed these crimes to happen. The police, social services, and local authorities all failed to protect vulnerable children. This failure was partly due to political correctness and fear of being labeled racist. But it was also due to a culture of complacency and a failure to listen to victims. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal is a stain on the conscience of Britain. It is a reminder that even in a developed country, terrible things can happen. It is also a call to action. We must learn from the mistakes of the past and do everything in our power to protect children from abuse. Grooming is a process of manipulation. Abusers use it to gain the trust of their victims. They often target vulnerable children. These children may be lonely, neglected, or have low self-esteem. The abuser will try to become a friend or even a father figure to the child. They will give them gifts, attention, and affection. Once the abuser has gained the child's trust, they will start to isolate them from their family and friends. They will then begin to sexually abuse the child. This abuse may start gradually, it may involve inappropriate touching or sexual comments, but it can quickly escalate to more serious forms of abuse, such as rape and sexual exploitation. Grooming is an insidious crime. It can have devastating long-term effects on victims. It is important to remember that grooming is never the child's fault. The abuser is always to blame. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal came to light in the early 2010s, but the abuse had been going on for decades. It was happening in towns and cities across the UK. Notorious cases occurred in Rotherham, Rochdale, and Telford. In Rotherham, a 2014 report revealed 1,400 children were abused between 1997 and 2013. Police and social services failed to act on reports of abuse. They feared being called racist. In Rochdale, in 2012, 9 men were jailed for grooming and abusing girls. The men were of Pakistani origin. The victims were white British girls. The case sparked outrage across the UK. It led to calls for a public inquiry. In Telford, a 2018 report found up to 1,000 children may have been abused since the 1980s. Police and social services failed to protect children. They prioritized the town's reputation over catching abusers. These are just a few examples of the widespread abuse. The true scale of the scandal is still unknown, but it is clear that thousands of children were abused. This happened over many years. Institutional failings, a systemic betrayal. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal is a story of institutional failure. The police, social services, and local authorities all failed to protect vulnerable children. This failure was due to a number of factors. One factor was political correctness. The police and social services were afraid of being labeled racist. This is because the perpetrators were predominantly of Pakistani origin. They were also afraid of inflaming community tensions. As a result, they were hesitant to investigate reports of abuse. They were also hesitant to take action against the perpetrators. Another factor was a culture of complacency. The police and social services did not believe that this type of abuse was happening. They thought that the girls were making up stories. They also thought that the girls were exaggerating. The police and social services also failed to listen to victims. They often dismissed the girls' reports of abuse. They did not believe the girls when they came forward. They also did not take the girls seriously. This left the girls feeling like they had nowhere to turn. The institutional failures in the UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal were systemic. They were not the fault of any one individual or organization. They were the result of a wider societal failure to protect children. The Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, or IICSA, seeking answers. In 2014, the UK government announced an independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. This inquiry was called the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, or IICSA. The IICSA was tasked with investigating the extent of child sexual abuse in England and Wales. It was also tasked with identifying the institutional failures that allowed this abuse to happen. The IICSA was chaired by Professor Alexis Jay. Professor Jay is a leading expert on child protection. She has a long history of working with victims of child abuse. The IICSA published its final report in 2022. The report was highly critical of the police, social services, and local authorities. It found that these institutions had failed to protect children from abuse. The report also found that these institutions had often prioritized the reputation of their organizations over the safety of children. The ICSA made a number of recommendations for change. These recommendations were designed to improve the way that institutions respond to child sexual abuse. The recommendations were also designed to prevent child sexual abuse from happening in the first place. The ICSA was a landmark inquiry. It was the largest and most comprehensive inquiry into child sexual abuse ever conducted in the UK. The inquiry's findings and recommendations have had a significant impact on child protection policy and practice in the UK. Elon Musk's criticism and political fallout. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal has had a significant political impact. It has led to accusations of a cover-up. It has also led to accusations of political correctness gone mad. In 2023, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, waded into the debate. He accused the UK government of failing to protect children. He also accused the media of ignoring the scandal. Musk's comments sparked a furious backlash. He was accused of racism and Islamophobia. However, his comments also resonated with many people who felt that the scandal had been swept under the carpet. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal has exposed deep divisions in British society. It has also highlighted the issue of race and religion in the UK. The scandal has led to a loss of trust in the police and other authorities. Moving forward, protecting the vulnerable. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal is a dark chapter in British history. It is a story of horrific abuse, institutional failure, and political cowardice. However, it is also a story of courage. The courage of the victims who came forward to tell their stories. The scandal has highlighted the need for greater awareness of child sexual exploitation. It has also highlighted the need for better training for professionals who work with children. Moving forward, it is essential that we learn from the mistakes of the past. We must create a society where children are safe from abuse. We must also create a society where victims of abuse are believed and supported. There are a number of things that can be done to protect children from abuse. We need to educate children about the dangers of grooming. We need to teach them how to stay safe online and offline. We also need to encourage children to speak out if they are being abused. We also need to support the victims of abuse. We need to provide them with the counseling and support they need to heal. We also need to hold the perpetrators of abuse accountable for their actions. The UK Pakistani Grooming Gangs Scandal is a wake-up call. It is a reminder that child sexual exploitation can happen anywhere. It can happen to any child. We must all work together to protect children and create a safer world for them.